Marvel Studios, a place so rich their trash cans could probably fund an indie movie.
Know your fucking place, trash!
Inside, everyone's pretending to be calm, but deep down, pure panic. Because the Fantastic Four wasn't just another movie, it was supposed to be the one. The reboot that would bring back faith, glory, and box office cash. Then Kevin Feige blinked, and when he did, every team in that room panicked like they'd just deleted the final draft scenes before the deadline. If you think the original movie for the Fantastic Four First Steps 2025 was the original plan, you're wrong.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I'm talking alternate universes, scrapped villains, and a version of Reed Richards so dark even Dr. Doom would have said, nah bro, that's too much. Everyone's been talking about leaks, casting, whatever, but no one's talking about the movie Marvel almost made before Kevin Feige blinked and the writers panicked. Yeah, the version that was so different it could have rebooted the entire MCU timeline. Originally, Fantastic Four wasn't supposed to be a shiny origin story. Nope. It was going to start in the middle of the multiverse. Reed and Sue weren't new heroes, they were lost ones, trapped after an experiment gone wrong, like they'd been missing since the 1960s. Imagine this, a retro team from another universe suddenly pulled into the modern MCU, like, wait, why does Tony Stark have a daughter? And Reed just stands there like, who's Tony Stark? Yeah, that kind of mind-bending confusion. And get this, Marvel's first villain plan wasn't even Dr. Doom. It was the Red Ghost and his freaky super-intelligent apes. Yeah, apes. Which was cut out. Marvel was ready to throw us full Planet of the Apes meets Fantastic Four crossover energy. Then somebody at Disney probably went, wait, we can't have talking gorillas when Rocket Raccoon already stole that spotlight. Boom, scrapped. Just like that. Then came the Doom phase. Kevin Feige wanted to go dark, like Infinity War dark. Reed Richards was supposed to lose everything. Sue was alive, but only in a different timeline. Johnny had turned cosmic, and Ben wasn't even human anymore. They had concept art of him being trapped halfway between rock and flesh. Creepy, emotional, tragic, basically everything Marvel fans beg for until they get it and go, too dark, Feige, too dark. But then the multiverse boom hit. Loki, Spider-Verse, Deadpool, and Wolverine. Marvel suddenly realized, wait, this could be our new Avengers moment. So they scrapped the dark tone and went full family reboot. All those emotional arcs, gone. The gritty visuals, gone. The existential trauma of losing your timeline, yeah, gone too. Instead, Marvel made it all lighthearted again, because heaven forbid kids leave the theater crying instead of buying plushies. And here's the real twist. They even shot a few test scenes from the old version. There's supposedly a sequence where Reed uses a device that lets him see other universes, like cameos of Tony Stark, Toby's Spider-Man, even a blink of Kang's original timeline. That scene? Cut. Too risky. Too many licensing headaches. Poof, vanished into the Marvel vault next to good decisions. Oh, and the cast? Don't even get me started. Adam Driver was literally about to be Reed Richards. The deal was on the table. He read the script and said something like, yeah, no thanks. I already fought Palpatine. I'm not fighting cosmic radiation too. So Marvel pivoted, panicked, restructured the entire tone again. So what do we get now? A softer, safer version. A movie that's still gonna be fun, sure, but when you realize what it could have been, it almost hurts. The multiversal espionage vibe, gone. The alternate 60s sci-fi aesthetic, gone. The script that tied into Secret Wars perfectly, rewritten. The plan to connect Reed Richards directly to Kang the Conqueror as a descendant, deleted. Because apparently Marvel didn't want another too confusing for casual fans scenario. Bro, it's called Fantastic Four. We can handle it. Because everything that got cut wasn't just random, it was intentional. Every missing frame, every lost line, it all points to a version of Fantastic Four that was too bold for the MCU we got. You can almost feel the tension in the edit room, where creativity met corporate fear. Marvel once had a blueprint that explored the unknown corners of human change, the cost of science, the idea that power always demands something in return. But somewhere between those drafts and Disney's deadlines, that heart got buried. The darker tone, the subtle emotional breakdowns, the twisted science sequences, all scrapped because it didn't test well. They didn't want audiences to feel too much, so they trimmed the soul out and kept the spectacle. It's almost poetic, a film about transformation that was itself transformed into something safer. Reed was supposed to question if being a genius made him godlike or monstrous. Sue's pregnancy arc was supposed to mirror the creation of a universe inside her, life and danger intertwined. Johnny's ego was supposed to break, not shine. And Ben's mutation, man, that one hurt. It was written as a metaphor for isolation, for being loved and feared at once. But that kind of rawness doesn't sell toys. They say the Red Ghost storyline was the tipping point. His scenes were too reflective, too political. He wasn't just a villain with apes. He represented ideology gone mad, science without empathy. Marvel cut him because he was too Soviet, too strange. But that cut also removed the film's mirror, the part that forced Reed to ask if he'd become what he feared. When the rewrites came, the script shifted from tragedy to teamwork. The concept art changed from cold metallic tones to bright cosmic color. The dialogue lost its weight and started echoing MCU humor. Safe, rhythmic, marketable. The characters stopped evolving and started explaining. Because no matter how deep Marvel tries to bury it, someone always finds a crack in the vault. The whispers, the old drafts, the concept reels that were never supposed to see the light. Yeah, they're real. The kind of stuff that shows just how close Marvel came to rewriting its entire universe from scratch. Behind the curtains, it wasn't just chaos, it was fear. Fear that this film might outshine what came before. Fear that the tone might shift the brand too far. Fear that the audience wouldn't be ready for a darker kind of hero. Writers would finish one version, and before it even hit Feige's desk, boom, scrapped. Another rewrite, more leaks, whole arcs that tied Reed to the TVA to quantum realm experiments gone overnight. Marvel didn't want fans asking questions they weren't ready to answer. There were reports of full-on debates inside the studio. Should the Fantastic Four remember their past universes, or should they wake up in ours like nothing ever happened? That question alone delayed the project for months. And then came the pressure. Every department fighting to keep a piece of their version alive. Some wanted it cosmic, others wanted it emotional, and a few just wanted it safe. But safe doesn't sell legends. Safe doesn't make a team like this unforgettable. What fans never saw were the visual experiments. Shots inspired by Kubrick's 2001. A space odyssey, eerie lighting, slow pans of Reed's lab filled with fragments of broken timelines. It looked too real, too heavy. Executives thought it might confuse audiences. So they stripped it down, replaced the mystery with color, jokes, and nostalgia. But the craziest part, those darker reels still exist. In locked drives, unfinished, untouched. The kind of footage that would make fans rethink what Marvel could have been. Because what was once a reboot was nearly a revelation. A story about guilt, discovery, and the curse of brilliance. That's what they cut. And yet, the echoes of that version never died. Every edit, every trailer frame, every little teaser still carries the fingerprints of that lost movie. The one that could have reset everything. The one Marvel pretends never existed. But the truth, no matter how buried, always finds its way back. And that's what really happened to Fantastic Four 2025. It wasn't a movie that failed to launch. It was a vision that got diluted. Somewhere out there in a hard drive buried under Marvel's Burbank server room exists a version of this story where Reed looks at Sue and says, "We changed the world, but the world changed us first." That line was real. Written, rehearsed, recorded, then deleted. Fans might never see it, but the echoes of that lost version still bleed through in the tiniest details. The unfinished textures, the alternate suit designs, the forgotten test footage of their first experiment, they're not accidents, they're remnants. And that's what makes this so haunting. Marvel didn't just cut scenes, they cut truth. The idea that the Fantastic Four weren't heroes because they wanted to be. They were heroes because no one else could survive what they survived. So when you see the new version, the shiny suits, the jokes, the easy optimism, remember, it wasn't supposed to start that way. It was supposed to hurt. And here's the kicker. According to leaks, the movie might still tease the original version through tiny Easter eggs, like Reed's lab notes showing different multiverse timelines, or an old blueprint labeled Project Baxter 1964. If that happens, remember this video. You heard it here before Marvel pretends it was always part of the plan. At this point, the Fantastic Four has gone through more rewrites than the Bible translations. Every time Feige blinks, another writer gets replaced. I swear, if this movie changes one more time, the thing's gonna show up speaking in Morse code. But here's where it gets even stranger. The deeper you look, the more it feels like something was guiding this story from behind the curtain. Because the scrapped ideas didn't just disappear, they leaked into every corner of what Marvel was quietly building. Alternate designs, unfinished suits, digital doubles, entire arcs buried in the studio servers like fossils of a forgotten timeline. There's footage, not meant for the public, where the cast rehearsed scenes that never existed in the final cut. Reed walking through a shattered Baxter building, floor cracked like glass, a silent echo of time travel gone wrong. Sue staring into a containment mirror, seeing 3 reflections, each one slightly older, slightly more broken. Johnny laughing, but his flame flickers blue for half a second, then vanishes like the heat of a dying star. Those weren't accidents, they were clues. Traces of what the story was meant to be before it got rewritten into something safer. Because in the original timeline, every member of the Fantastic Four was supposed to face themselves, literally. Their powers weren't just gifts, they were symptoms. Reed's stretching wasn't control. It was obsession manifest. Sue's invisibility was avoidance. Johnny's fire was ego, and Ben's transformation was guilt carved into stone. It was psychological. A story that made you question who the real monsters were, them or the universe that made them. And yet, it all vanished, not because it didn't work, but because it worked too well. Test audiences called it unsettling. Executives called it too cerebral. They didn't want tragedy, they wanted toy sales. So the edit room became a graveyard. Still, fragments survived. Scenes where the tone slips for just a second. You can feel it, the way Reed hesitates before saying, "We're family." The way Sue's smile doesn't quite reach her eyes. The silence that lingers between Johnny's jokes. That's not sloppy writing. That's residue from a darker film buried beneath the one we got. A version where the final act doesn't end with hope, but with loss. Reed walking into a collapsing portal alone, choosing to seal the breach himself while the others watch helplessly. It was poetic, heavy, the kind of ending that would have turned the MCU upside down. Marvel has a pattern. Whenever a story gets too human, too reflective, too real, it disappears. And what's left are echoes, Easter eggs, lines that don't belong, music cues that fade before resolving, a cinematic deja vu that tells you something bigger was supposed to happen here. And that's what makes this version of Fantastic Four haunting. Because even in the footage we do have, it feels unfinished, like the movie is aware of what it lost. The empty lab halls, the half-lit frames, the way every laugh seems to hide a secret. It's as if the film itself remembers its own deleted future. But if you really want to know how James Gunn pulled the DC Universe back from the ashes of Zack Snyder's chaos, click here to see how one decision changed everything. Because if you think this was wild, wait till I tell you how James Gunn's Superman reboot saved DC. So do me a favor, drop a comment right now. Do you think Marvel should have stuck with the original plan? Or did they dodge a cosmic bullet? Smash that like button harder than the Things morning workout. And yeah, hit that subscribe button to make it black.